What's like the wildest or weirdest thing that you've ever found during an inspection?
Some people think that even when they buy a brand new house, it's brand new forever. It's not.
What's one piece of advice you wish every first-time homebuyer knew before the inspection even started? Hey guys, welcome back. Episode 2. Today I have James Kurtenbach. He is the owner of Inspect 605, a home inspector here in Sioux Falls. So, James, will you tell us a little bit about your business and kind of what you do?
So I started out working for a franchise, learned a lot, and then I ended up starting my own business. That was probably the best decision of my life, doing that, being my own boss and making my own schedule. And basically, my background with my dad being in construction his whole life, learned a lot from him, went through different trades of working, whether it's from concrete to framing to electrical, all that kind of stuff. So all that really helped me kind of build my, knowledge and background and, knowing more about construction and just helping people is what I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, love to hear it. And I've worked with James on, quite a few deals. He's great. He's great at kind of explaining every step in the process of a home inspection, and he really, gets everything on the report for you. So we'll get into the first question. What is kind of a big myth that a lot of first-time home buyers might think about home inspections that might not actually be true or, matter a little bit less than they thought?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of first-time home buyers think that they're buying the perfect house. They think that when they first buy it and I do an inspection on it, they think that everything's going to be, butterflies and rainbows and walk on a sandy beach with, bubble bath and all that. Because like buying a house is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of work to maintain it and keep it up. And I'm probably going to say this 15 times during this, is that it's still better than renting, like all day, every day. So yeah, I'd say, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And, that is true. I've ran into a lot of, home inspection reports where they'll have, 60 items on there. And that's kind of the standard,
It's normal.
There's never a home inspection with 0 items. It can be anything from, foundation cracks to literally a little bead of caulking behind your sink. So, it won't always be perfect. There will never be nothing on the inspection, but I agree what James said. It is always better than renting. All right, so now we're kind of at the showing stage. We go under contract and we get to inspections. When you get to that home and you walk in the door, what are like the top 3 things that catch your eye first, or that you start to look for when you walk in that home?
Whether I walk in it and I look at something, or if I'm just walking up to it, the first thing I look at is the roof. Even from the ground, I can see stuff that is not supposed to be there, flashing, that's overlapping improperly or missing shingles. When I walk in the door, certain things I'm looking at are, is there moisture stains, old, even if they're old, up on the ceiling, or over in the corner, there's a loose outlet that without even touching it, I know it's loose because it's halfway hanging off the wall. That's just, some of those are just indicators, some DIY stuff, mainly the electrical. But the moisture staining is stuff you kind of want to, and I really dig into those the best I can and get in the attic and crawl around and, see if it's a current leak or if it's something that happened 2 roofs ago,
Yeah.
So that's kind of stuff that I look for.
Okay. Yeah. So, we're looking out for moisture stains, looking at the roof.
Yep.
Those are kind of big deals I feel like everyone knows about.
Mm.
So on the flip side of that, what are some things that, maybe a first-time home buyer thinks isn't a big deal, or, it's not super significant, but in the grand scheme of things, it actually is?
Yeah. I will say a lot of first-time home buyers, they look at paint colors and they look at, a cute or cool looking door that's on a bedroom, or a cool looking bowl sink in the bathroom, stuff like that. But then when I look at it and I open the bottom cabinets and I see putty and tape and glue on the plumbing fittings, and an electrical live wire that's not in a junction box underneath the cabinet, those, that's stuff that a lot of first-time home buyers kind of put the blinders on and they can't really see that type of stuff. So That's why it's really important to get a home inspection to kind of see those underlying conditions, even though you're looking at a cute picture, but realistically, the bones and other components are very important too.
Yeah, and as much as I'd like to climb on the roof at every showing we go to and check it out for you, I don't think I can do that. So
Join me sometime.
yeah, maybe I'll have to join James. I'll leave it to the experts. He can get in the crawl spaces and roofs, and I'll do the other stuff. I'll do the boring stuff. He
There you
can
go.
do the fun stuff in the fields. You're inside the home. You're going through your checklist and the process that you do. What's one thing that sellers might try to hide from you or kind of cover up that you can catch pretty much off rip?
Yeah. Couple things. Moisture stains in ceilings and walls and stuff like that. Pretty common stuff that people try to cover up so I don't see it, or the buyer doesn't see it. And then plumbing stuff, electrical stuff. As everything gets more expensive nowadays, people are doing a lot of DIY projects, and then they're getting their fingers and toes dipped into electrical stuff that I can't even describe on why and how it looked that way. Or plumbing stuff that, number one, I sometimes can't believe that sewer gases aren't coming up through the sinks. Stuff like that is kind of concerning in some spots, but again, everything that I call out, everything that I see and whatnot, it's all fixable. That's the nice thing about construction. Everything can be fixed.
I did property maintenance for a year before I got into real estate. So when I met James, it was nice. I actually understood kind of what he was talking about. But I can attest to that. If you own your own home and you've never dealt with plumbing or electrical, call someone. It took me many times of getting wet, getting electrocuted, to kind of learn my lesson and learn how to do things. So, either take the right steps to learn how to do it,
Yes,
or just hire it out.
By no means am I saying don't learn stuff on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great that this generation can learn that type of stuff, but use precaution and YouTube.
Yeah,
Much as you can.
Make sure to shut off the breakers.
Yes.
So, like we mentioned, those reports can be kind of 60 items long, and all of the items on there are important to look at. It's important to read, but if you could give a buyer one takeaway from the report, or maybe just have them be forced to remember at least one thing from your reports, would there be kind of one specific item?
Yeah, and I say it all the time on almost every walkthrough I do, is water destroys homes. If you can find a way to keep your house watertight, sealed, prevent things from leaking, keep it watertight. I say it all the time too that paint and caulking is a homeowner's best friend. But things that go along with that is gutter extensions. Even I did 2 brand new homes today, and both of them were missing gutter extensions. That's just the easiest way to get a foundation to start leaking. So
get that water away from the home
as far as possible.
I've heard that from James many times too. Water ruins homes, and it's true. Anytime foundation gets affected or drywall, it's always because of water getting in the home somehow. So I like that answer. I would agree with that from my humble opinion of a realtor. All right, so kind of a fun one. We've been serious, kind of all business. What's like the wildest or weirdest thing that you've ever found during an inspection?
Well, I ended up going to a house, knew that there was people living there. I do my normal 3-knock method. So I knock 3 times, open the lockbox, and sometimes I'll even knock a 4th time. So nobody came to the door. I heard dogs barking, which is pretty normal because a lot of people put their dogs in kennels or somewhere where they're not gonna, bother me. I ended up knocking, open the door. I always yell home inspector. Then I go in, put my bag down, and I start flipping lights on. As I'm getting closer to the bedrooms, both bedroom doors were shut and the bathroom door was shut. And I ended up going to the first bedroom, opening it up, turn the lights on, go to the bathroom, turn the light on. And I open the second bedroom door, turn the light on, and there's 2 naked people laying in bed, just butt naked. And I ended up oh, I'm so sorry. I shut the light off, and I was like, did you know I'm the home inspector? Did you know I was going to be here today? And they're like, oh yeah, we knew. And they just turned around and rolled the other way and went back to sleep. And I was like, do you know that the buyers are going to be here about 11:30 for a walkthrough? And then they jumped up out of bed. They're like, no, we had no idea. And so that was definitely the weirdest, most awkward situation I've been in.
Yeah, I bet.
It was not fun.
Can't even get away with the 4 knock method anymore.
Nope.
You gotta
Nope.
always gotta yell, and sometimes you can't even do anything else.
They were sounded, and it's the way that when I said, you know, do you know I was going to be here today? And then they said, yeah, and they just turned the other cheek, and and they just were going to go right back to sleep. And I'm like, yeah, that's
interesting.
A little different.
Yeah. Well, I hope I am never that lucky that I find that out.
Yep.
So we talked about what first-time home buyers might, come across that they think isn't a big deal, but it actually is.
Yep.
On the flip side of that, kind of what's something that first-time home buyers think might be a big deal when it actually isn't?
A lot of first-time home buyers think that like cosmetic stuff, certain paint colors, or an accent wall or something that is not structural. There's no electrical or plumbing components a part of it. Some people get caught up in kind of the detailed stuff that is easily changed, easily fixed. I've coming from experience, buying multiple houses, or my first house, I was not keen on the house paint color. That's pretty sad now looking back on, wow, I almost didn't buy that house just because of the paint color.
Yeah.
Like that's something that's easily changed.
Yeah.
So,
and when we're looking at homes too, we always like to go by the 80-10-10 rule. So 80% of the home, we want you to love. Ideally, we find that 100% home that you love every square inch of it. It's a little hard, it's almost impossible. But 80% we want you to love. 10% we want you to be able to change. So that would be, paint color. If you don't like your sink, you can always replace that kind of stuff. And then 10% you can live with. So, if the third bedroom's downstairs, gonna be a little hard to bring that upstairs, but you can live with this. So that's kind of our guideline when we're looking at homes. We go by that 80-10-10 rule is what we call it. So
it's a good rule.
So as someone who sees many houses every day, and you're actually on our home support team, how's your experience kind of been within our home support team? And, what do you think about kind of our lifetime home support model and, just us having a team of people that buyers can or sellers can call long after the transaction, just to always be there for them throughout every step of kind of home ownership?
Yeah, I think it's great. I really do. Buying a house is a big deal. It's typically the biggest investment that somebody makes in their life. Having a team behind you to, whether it's just support you or help you or give you more knowledge or, lead you in the right direction for something that broke, something that you would like change, even though it's, not needed, but, like an accent wall or, a door frame or a front door, whatever the case is. Like, you got somebody to help you along the way. Asking for help is something that not a lot of people are good at asking for or asking. And this is something that, you guys are going to be there along the whole journey. And, whether it's their first house or their 10th house, it's nice to have that, backup.
Yeah. And how has your experience kind of been on the home support team?
Oh, it's been great. Honestly, it's my inspections, I swear to you, Amy Stockberger Group gives me sometimes 2-3 a week, sometimes more depending on the realtors and how busy the market is. This market can be tough right now, but and it's also the holiday season, which is common for it to slow down, but it's been amazing. I almost wish I would have done it a long time ago.
Yep. And I mean, our home support team is great, but I think it's just your personality, kind of the way you go about business.
Yeah.
I've did a couple home inspections with you, and I was like, hey, this is my guy. There's a ton of great home inspectors out there.
Yep.
I've never had a bad experience with one. But, I think just your personality and kind of the reports you bring to the table and the way you're able to explain them to clients without, freaking them out, I think it's great. Because some of the stuff on those reports can sound scary.
They can, and that's why I really, really love doing walkthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
Walkthroughs are so important because if I sent, the average Joe my normal report of their house, it's going to have 400 pictures with 60 repair items, and the way I have to label and word things can scare just even somebody that's good at fixing their own stuff. So doing the walkthrough is very helpful. I do my best to explain a lot of things on how to repair a little tiny item or all the maintenance stuff that a house entails. That's very important stuff to know.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. So when you kind of receive a report, we'll go through the inspection, we'll do that walkthrough at the end, and then later that day we'll get the report.
Yep.
When we're looking at it, can you kind of explain how it gets broken down into different groups by those different colors that are on the actual report?
Yeah, so the first one is blue, which is more repair items, or I'm sorry, not repair items. It's maintenance stuff that is something you're going to want to do all the time, such as cleaning your AC unit. Most cases, I'll put that on a report regardless if it's clean or not, because it's almost just a reminder for somebody that you need to spray your AC unit down all four sides. The other one is orange. The orange one is something that's like a repair item, something like a leaking faucet or a hot neutral reverse outlet, some electrical component or something like that, or even like a stain in the ceiling. It's something that's not a bad idea to get it repaired. That way, especially if the leak got fixed years ago or whatever the case is. That way, if it does ever leak again, it's actually a fresh leak or something's happening. So red's going to be, I was going to say that like the door that leads from the garage to the house should be self-closing. It doesn't work too well when I tell people don't worry about that because it's so annoying when it shuts in your face. So a red would be like a hazard, like a safety hazard. Sometimes even a foundation that's leaning or tipping or bowing or smiling at you. That's something that's kind of a concern that could be a safety thing. Or like a gas leak. I've done multiple inspections where the first thing I smell when I walk in a vacant home is natural gas. That's a hazard. That's something that should be addressed immediately, and that way people don't get hurt or bad things happen.
Yeah.
So,
it's nice if you were to just send out those reports and they weren't labeled, you would kind of just have to scroll through everything and you wouldn't know what was important or what wasn't. I wouldn't even know. So It is really nice that it's kind of sectioned out. So when we are making that ask to the listing agent, we kind of know what's a safety hazard and what we can kind of get done right away. And that way we can maybe even get bids too to kind of see if we can fix things. It's just really helpful to kind of have an expert get in there and tell us the main things that are wrong with the home, before we move on to the closing table. So
definitely.
Coming to an end here, what's one piece of advice you wish every first-time homebuyer knew before the inspection even started?
Yeah, great question. Best thing I could say is that every single house will need some love, some TLC. Things always happen at the worst moments. Things are going to break. Things are going to fail. Things are not going to work as designed. That's just what happens. Any mechanical function can break at any time, even if it's brand new. That's like the worst case scenario with brand new houses and water heater goes out, not even 6 months old. It happens. It happens every day.
Yeah.
So that's something that a lot of people are not aware of. And then what was kind of the other part of that? There's always something that's going to break. It is. It's notorious. Something's going to break. Something's going to happen. Something's going to stop working. Some people think that even when they buy a brand new house, it's brand new forever. It's not. Like, things get old. Things get overused. You're going to have to fix it at some point. Mm-hmm. So it's just part of it. Maintenance is key. Maintaining your appliances and maintaining certain items of your house is very, very important. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, and that's why we give you that stick it, scan it, solve it sticker at closing time. So what that is we recommend you put it on a water heater, furnace, somewhere in the mechanical room or maybe out in your garage. It just has a QR code to our home support team.
It's awesome.
That way, if that water heater goes out, you don't have to, think, who should I call? Who should I talk to? You just scan it, type in water heater, and it gives you the exact, contact to call. So we can get those things done pretty quick, but it is, nice to note that things do break. Not everything lasts as long as, it should or it's supposed to. Some things will last way longer than they should or supposed to. But yeah, so thanks for answering some questions, James. We helped a lot of first-time home buyers out today with kind of the inspection process. But yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.